everyone. Thank you. And while we have the gratitude train rolling, let me just say, without the work of the pioneering women in our community, two of whom are sitting right here, Diana and Linda, I don't think I'd be here. So thank you, ladies. Thank you. So in this keynote, I'm going to take you to several different scales of thought, all the way out to a planetary level, and then to our business level, and then even the individual level, even smaller than that, even the ecosystem that lives within you as an individual. So I'll do my best to let us know when we're sort of shifting scale. The other thing is I'm going to be throwing a lot of QR codes at you at the end of this. And I thought, wouldn't it be nice if there was a LinkedIn post already ready to go that had all those codes in it? So if it worked, this should have come out about 15 minutes ago. And if it didn't work, I'll do it right after the session, okay? It worked, great, thank you, thank you. So relax. You don't have to get your phones out to capture all those QR codes. You don't have to madly take notes. But if something is vivid for you, if something strikes you and you think, oh, I hadn't thought of it that way, wouldn't it be lovely to put a comment in here to let other people know about that? Because other people are watching this post right now. And if you share with each other, then it goes from just an individual insight, which is great, to collective intelligence, which is where I think we need to be headed, don't you? All right. So we're starting with our planetary scale and with nature. All around us is this beautiful creation. Have you noticed it? As I look out my window of the hotel I'm at in Prague, I see rooftops of a city, but I also see green. Do you see the green here? Do you see how beautiful this is? And we did absolutely nothing to earn that. It is given to us. So nature is our incredible ally and supporter. And nature, of course, is always changing. And even the nature of change is changing. It has changed. You heard a little bit about this in what Diana just talked about. And the thing that I ran across that helped me understand how nature is changing is this idea that it is now perpetual, pervasive, and here's the most daunting one, exponential. Perpetual. You're not getting off the change bus, people. I'm sorry. Pervasive. It's going to happen in your work, in your life, in your volunteer activities. It's going to happen everywhere all at once. And exponential. You probably heard this horrible statement. The pace of change will never be slower than it is today. Oh my God. Get me off the change bus, please. So we're not getting off the change bus. There is such good news here. Because you know what we were built for as Agilists? We were built for change. So I have to bring in our bigger planetary scale now. Because the forecasts that our human activity is going to threaten our very life are coming true. You can look at any graph. They say we're in the age of acceleration, right? You can look at any graph, and it looks like this. Bump, 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 woo! Bump, 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 woo! So it's not all exciting, though. So those escalations, those exponential changes are things like biodiversity loss and ecosystem collapse. They are things like climate disasters. They are things like the level of burnout. They are things like rising authoritarianism. And it turns out that there is a term for this thing that I think of like a big ball of messy yarn that I can't untangle. And that term is the meta-crisis. And the reason why I like this particular term for our particular times is because it is impossible to untangle these multiple species-threatening events that are escalating. So I actually do want to take us a little bit into this turbulence. I think we need to feel the gravity of the moment we're in. And it's the gravity of the moment we're in as a human species, as our ability to adapt and survive and hopefully continue to thrive. But it's also the business context we're all in. I mean, lest we think this is disconnected, just think about the unexpected changes that have come that have impacted your businesses. Okay. So, if that's not enough, we are also in the middle of understanding that our concept of reality was imperfect and small. The concept we had that organizations, the ones we all work in, could be run like machines turns out not to be true everywhere. Yeah, it's great for some things. It is great. You can create predictability and control and stability, and you can do things at a massive mass marketing level for some things, but not for times of change. So you probably notice it in yourself. All I'm doing is giving you words for things that are probably already in here. The idea that we're moving from thinking of organizations as machines to living systems like a rainforest has probably already been brewing in you. But you might not have thought it relates to your life. And you might not have thought it relates to your everyday, and I think it does. So a rainforest, think about this. The idea of managing a rainforest, controlling a rainforest, predicting a rainforest, absolutely ludicrous. But there is so much life and death and rebirth in a rainforest happening all the time. And it is absolutely possible to thrive in an environment like that. So I want to put it to you this way. I believe that we Agilists have a superpower. And that is the power to metabolize change for good. We can metabolize change and get the good out of it. Get the nutrients out of it, just like we metabolize food in our own bodies. Okay, so now we're zooming down more into the business world and sort of like the mechanics of how this agile thing works, because it's really in our favor. Okay. I wish someone had told me when I started out with agility, and it took about 10 years before someone finally said this to me, and my whole life changed. They said, agile frameworks are intentionally incomplete. Oh my God, of course they are. Yes, if they were complete, they would be too rigid. We definitely need to bring in allied disciplines of different kinds of models, different kinds of thinking, different kinds of skills, things from way outside the business world. Of course we need to do that. But what they're actually very complete for is this idea of metabolizing change again and again and again and again and again. I bet you wish this slide would end. And the reason it's not ending is to let us know that we are in this change, these multiple sets of change, all happening at the same time, together. So let me be a little more specific. These are the 5 specific ways that I think agility makes it safe to change. It makes it safe to change. Agility makes it safe to change, everyone. Yeah? We don't need to fear change. We don't need to fear change. Right? Yes, it's true. We can't predict an outcome. Guess what? We never could, but we thought we could. We can't predict an outcome. We can't count on the thing that we wanted so badly to happen exactly like we imagine it in our minds. So we can't find our stability in predicting those things. But we can, and we do, find our stability in the way we move through change. The way of moving through change is very predictable. It's very stable. It's very comforting, at least to me. Now, I bet if you think about whatever Agile framework you're using, And if you're using it even at like a 10% power level, I will bet you can think of more ways that agility actually makes it safe to metabolize change again and again. So I want to just say something ridiculous to you. And it's this. Let's stop this nonsense about being agile and doing agile. I often ask myself the question, what if agility has emerged at exactly the right time? What actually, if agility is a brilliant and intelligent emergent response to complexity? What if we were actually made for this exact time we're in? So I want you to start to feel how precious it is, what you know how to do, how you know how to be in the midst of these constant and turbulent changes we're in. So that's a pretty big claim, isn't it? So let me be really specific. We're coming down to the atomic level now, to my stick figure diagram of the Scrum framework. In my mind, the Scrum framework has two directions. One is this sort of delivery direction, and the other is a learning and improving direction. Yeah. So I'm going to take those first two of those 5 things I said about how agility makes it safe to change. I'm going to show you exactly where it happens. Exactly where it happens. And you can do this for yourself, for the other 5, and for the ones you think of yourself. Yeah. So let's talk about the first one, never losing progress. Well, that's a pretty big claim, isn't it? Agility makes it safe to change because you never lose progress. Yes, true, if you are planning a short period of time, if you are regularly inspecting and adapting so that at the end you deliver something real. Never lose progress. That is money in the bank. People are so afraid of change that they keep all these things open all the time. But if we just delivered, we would have something real we could work with. And I bet you do. What about this one? Just while it's cheap. So here are a couple places where agility helps us adjust while it's cheap. First of all, the daily stand-up. That is a miracle. The daily stand-up can be an amazing thing because you find all the traps immediately and you can avoid them. What about the sprint review and the retrospective, both of which move directly into the backlog? And the improvements you thought about in your retrospective come right into your next sprint. My God, if that's not a miracle, people, I don't know what is. Think about this. In turbulent times, what we need are exactly systems like this. So that's how it shows up for those first 2 I talked about. But the same thing, the same basic thing, you can track through the Scrum framework or any other Agile framework you're using. I think it's important to understand that this is not just about using this framework for teams or for delivery, because these patterns are fractals and they show up everywhere in the organization. You can think of it this way. These are not just practices, these are rituals of responsiveness. Rituals of responding to the world as it actually is, not the one we're hiding from. Agility finally makes it safe to come out and say how it actually is. And so here are my top 5 tips for using agility well for metabolizing change. And they're not rocket science, people. We've been saying this for a lot of years. We've been saying these things for a lot of years. So, the one I would like to highlight is courage. Be courageous, courageous when inspecting and adapting. Hide nothing. When we hide things, we just take away the chance that other people will have better information to self-organize around. Okay. All right, so let's do a little shift. Because you read these 5 things up there and you're like, yeah, Lyssa, but what about all these impediments? What about my boss won't let me do this, and my team doesn't like this, and the organization isn't like that, and da whatever. I say to you, okay, great, because agility is doing its job. Agility's job is to reveal those impediments. It's not a problem. It's not a problem to solve. It's something to receive. So we're receiving these impediments, and we have the chance to look in the mirror and do something better. So this book has this one quote in it that I love. Impediments are not the path, impediments are the path. So when we start thinking about receiving impediments, we can stop saying things like, why is this happening to me? Or worse, why is this happening to me again? And we can start asking questions like, what is this trying to signal? What is the change that's trying to happen through this thing that keeps repeating in my career? What is the change urge that's coming forth that's trying to make it better? So impediments are the path. So if impediments are the path, then let's start practicing. So go ahead and get an impediment in your mind. I promise you will not have to talk to anyone else about this. So just in your own mind, get an impediment in your mind. It can be a small one, it can be a big one. It's anything that slows you down or stops your ability to deliver. And just so we can see what's happening, who's got an impediment in their mind? Okay, all right, good. Keep thinking. If you don't have one yet, get one in your mind. You're going to need it in a little while. All right, now I'm taking us to the context of what would it take for us to be a match for the future we're already in. I've been doing my work recently on thinking about what would be the basic underlying skills and abilities of people who are really good at metabolizing change and people who are really good at being in complex and turbulent times. And also, what's the underlying set of skills and abilities of all of these new leadership models that are coming out now? There's regenerative leadership model, there's all of these leadership models that are much more in tune. But we, as leaders, might not be in tune yet. So over the time of teaching Agile coaching and helping emerge that profession, I was developing myself off to the side. I was taking all kinds of classes and year-long programs and all of this sort of thing for many years. So I get to pull from all of that to ask the question, what would it take for us to be a match for the environment we're already in? And in working with some leaders in the last few years, I've come up with 3 categories, 3 toolkits, 3 ways to think about it. And it's this. It would be to expand your cognitive toolkit, deepen your emotional toolkit, and create flow through your energetic toolkit. All right, we need a stretch right now. This is really convenient, so do it with me. Expand. Go ahead and get like a big chest stretch in there. Expand. Oh, good. Deepen. And this is the most fun one. Create flow. Okay, I want to give you just a quick overview of these 3. This is forming the core of the work I'm doing now, and I'm doing it with small groups in person at my retreat space in Portugal, because I want people to confront the challenges or the opportunities they're working with, the topics of the day, and be able to expand, deepen, and flow to come up with so many more ideas, so many more opportunities. Because here's the issue with the current cognitive toolkit we're working with, is that we're plenty smart. We are plenty smart. But our intelligence seems to run in the same tracks, doesn't it? Even when we're asked to be creative and think outside the box, it runs in the same metaphors and the same landscapes. It doesn't go very far. So the very first thing in expanding your cognitive toolkit is to not believe everything you think. This is the ability to look at how you think. How did I make sense of that? Why did I make sense of it that way? What are the patterns that are running my thinking? And can I identify them and interrupt them and maybe choose better ones? Can I expand myself to take in a long time perspective? In fact, can I expand myself to take in as many perspectives as possible and then see what emerges? So this is the idea of expanding your cognitive toolkit. You know what's next, right? Deepen your emotional toolkit, because it's not that we're not smart that keeps us in the tracks we're in. It's that we're afraid to feel what we feel. Yeah. So, people are so afraid to feel their feels, especially the ones we label as negative. Fear, anxiety, feeling exposed, any of these things. Afraid that if I allow myself to feel it, it's going to take over. I'll never recover. But do you know, this is the most amazing thing I learned and that I've been practicing for a number of years now. If you unhook the story from the feeling and just allow yourself to feel the feeling in your body, do you know how long it lasts? Do you know how long it lasts? 60 to 90 seconds. Seconds. It lasts mere seconds. And what it leaves behind is a treasure. Because that emotion, that energy in motion in your body was trying to tell you something. So it leaves behind this gem, this information you would have had in no other way. That feels like a competitive advantage to me. So, expand your cognitive toolkit, deepen your emotional toolkit, and just do a little wiggle with me, just for a little fun. Create flow through your emotional toolkit. Just loosen it up a little bit, because part of what we need to do is incorporate our bodies. Yeah. So I see so many of you out there smiling, and you're like, oh, thank God she's talking about incorporating our bodies. Yes, so much stuff gets stuck in here. It's not just a matter of changing your mind. You need to change your body chemistry. You need to change the frequency at which you are operating. So, for the purpose of creating flow of ideas, creating flow of creativity, creating flow of vitality, creating flow of life-giving ideas, and boy, don't we need those now. So, one very small tool, but powerful tool in this toolbox, is to consciously choose your come from place. The place you are approaching the world from. Because you know when we approach the world from sort of a contracted place, maybe frustrated or aggravated, that creates that same thing in people around us, doesn't it? We're quite perceptive, we humans. We're amazingly perceptive. We pick all this stuff up. And when we come from a place of vitality, maybe grounded in vision again, then that opens up the possibilities, not only for ourselves, but for everyone we encounter. So, lest you think this is just like changing my attitude or like putting on a false face. No. When you are in charge of your own energy, when you are consciously choosing your come from place, that is every bit of your whole body mind realigning itself in a new frequency. We now know that this stuff affects our very individual cells. So it's powerful. And these things are not tapped into very much. But I'm doing my work as much as I can to help us expand, deepen, and flow. So just one more time before we leave this piece. You know what we need to do to be ready for the future? Expand, deepen, and flow. Yeah. Nice, thank you. Okay, so I want to come into the context of making changes. Because we know that once we start moving in a more leaderful way, when we become more capable through these three toolboxes, that we are able to work with change. It's like no big deal. Especially maybe even, or especially the ones we didn't want, I guess I would say. Okay, so this is a very well-known theory of change. There are a number of theories of change, of course, you've just seen many. This one is simple to me because we talk about what's known, the current way, and this is called the edge theory of change, and what is the new way, and I like this idea, is that it's the new way that's emerging. The new way that's emerging, it's not quite clear yet. And here's the thing, there's this edge that you cross, and there's a lot of discomfort. Why we need to expand, deepen, and flow, because there's a lot of discomfort in change. However, you know how to do it. You've already done it. You've done it multiple times through your life. So let me just give you a couple examples. What about going from being a couple to being parents? Was that a big change? Could anything have actually prepared you for everything that happened in that change? Right? My husband, he went from having horrible stage fright, having panic attacks on stage, to playing in bars. I mean, don't get so excited. It's like, open mics, okay? But my God, it was huge for him. Huge, huge. And here especially, there was the time in COVID. Before COVID, we had unrestricted mobility, and then we had lockdown, right? That introduced a whole lot of change. So the whole point is, you already know how to do this, right? Now become conscious of it. Life does put us at these change edges, but I believe we have this superpower. Back to this superpower, and back to why we just might be what is needed right now in this world. Okay, let's talk about agility. Agility itself puts us at change edges. Now, I'm doing this for you to start thinking about what change edge you might be on yourself. Okay, so be thinking about that. So agility in general has lots and lots and lots of changes, as we know. An easy one to reach for is you go from being told what to do to volunteering for tasks, volunteering to do things. How about this one? Deciding for the team to letting the team decide. This is one that a lot of people who hold positional power struggle with. What about this one? Avoiding failure at all costs to embracing fail fast to learn. We used to even teach, in the old days, a failure bow. Woo, I failed. Everyone, look at me, I failed. But I'm learning, right? Okay, now, organizations are on change edges as well, because agility, if you bring it in even a little bit, pushes organizations toward change also. We talked about all those unexpected, turbulent changes coming in from our meta-crisis environment, right? So all that's happening at the same time. Here's one. You know about moving from inflexible plans to flexible plans that are able to be flexible because they deliver often. Do you hear a pattern here? If you don't deliver often, the game is off. Right? How about specifying the product at the end and waiting for some magical fairies over there to deliver it? To being involved and guiding the product and then getting what the end users, the customers, the clients actually need. This is a big one going on in a lot of organizations. They're thinking about, some are doing it, most are just thinking about, could we move from this annual budget process, which doesn't seem to match the world anymore, to something that is more incremental and would actually understand our organizational capacity? That would be amazing if we could start to understand our organizational capacity. Now, be thinking about this for yourself still. because these organizational changes set up edge changes for you too. What about this one? Alleviating discomfort as fast as possible to allowing yourself to experience it. Maybe this one's happening for you right now. What about this one? Waiting for change to happen from above to being a change agent from where I sit. At whatever scale of influence and power you actually have. And this one, doing what you're told to asking questions and voicing opinions. You know why? Not just to ask a question or voice an opinion, because when you do, you create more collective intelligence. You put information into the ecosystem that other people can self-organize around. Isn't that amazing? So, if it's not enough that we have the Agile frameworks themselves doing us a really good service in metabolizing change for good, we also have learned over time how to cross change edges and help other people do it. So this is why I think that we are uniquely positioned with this superpower to be a really good force for change in the world, positive change in the world. But it doesn't come unless you're ready to have the conversation. So remember that impediment that you had in your mind a little while ago? I want you to think about what conversation am I not having such that that impediment keeps living inside of me. Right? So get that impediment in mind and think about who do I need to talk to address it. When I work with any scale of team, especially leadership teams, I can feel these unhad conversations in the air. Can you feel it too? These conversations they're not having. Okay, so I want to give you what I think is the first and most crucial step in having this conversation that you probably need to have, but you're not having yet, or you tried it, you jumped out there with no preparation whatsoever, and it didn't go very well. So in either case, you have the chance for a do-over. You always have the chance for a do-over. And my suggestion is to do the inner work required to have the outer outcome work well. And the whole purpose of the inner work is to gain this really strong, clear alignment within yourself so that no matter what happens in this conversation, no matter how it goes, you're staying connected to what you care about. And here are 3 ways to do it. I ask myself these questions all the time. What's my actual intention in having this conversation? And what is the positive change I envision? If you can't articulate the positive change you envision, then all you're doing is inviting conflict when you go have this conversation. And if you can't imagine it, if you can't say it to someone else, how can you possibly expect this other person you need to have in the conversation, how can you possibly expect them to see it? And then finally, what are you asking or asserting? You're having this conversation because you need to ask for something or you need to say something. So many times we enter these conversations with a lot of pillows around it. Oh, like maybe could I have a few minutes of your time? We need to talk about blah. And the blah you say is so abstract. People don't know what the hell you're talking about. So this is where you need to bring on, remember that idea of courage and hiding nothing. That value that agility asks us to step into because reality requires our courage. So stepping into your courage with this inner work on board, maybe the conversation will go better. I'll bet you it will. I can tell you, if you practice key parts of that conversation with a friend beforehand, it will go better. It absolutely will, because we need to iterate on ourselves. Because the first time you say, like even that first sentence that you're thinking about saying to the person, and you say it to a friend and they're like, I have no idea what you just said. That's good feedback, isn't it? And then you try again. And then your friend says, okay, now it's getting clear. Try again. Okay, now it's getting powerful. Try again. Oh, now I know exactly why we're here. Your friends can help you. All right. let me take you to the conversation and the courageous question I have had to ask myself. So now I'm taking this into the personal, because where I'm headed, I hope, is where many of you will also head. So I've had to ask myself this question. What does it mean to truly lead in a world that's falling apart? There's a saying that Ken Wilber says, he's a living philosopher, and he says things are getting better and better and worse, faster and faster. So like back to this big ball of yarn that's impossible to pull apart. So what does it mean to truly lead in a world that's like that? And that has led me to take on a role in shaping our communities, our Agile communities, and where we're headed. And I want to show you the amazing things that are happening around this so that maybe you will join in. So last year, I joined the board of Women in Agile to spearhead this program called World Work. And I'm joined by Joanne Stone and Anne-Marie Kong, and the three of us are working to use the platform of Women in Agile to reach as many people as possible. So this is not just for women, it's not just for allies, it's for everyone. That platform is there for us. It's a way for us to reach thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of people at a time with this message of, hey, wake up, Agilists. We have something to give the world and it's time to do it. This idea of mobilizing a force of Agilists for good. So under World Work, this is one of the programs that we run. It's called Sustainability Incubator Programs. Now, this is the beginning of all the QR codes, everyone. So don't worry, they're all in that post, right? So Sustainability Incubator Program, it's so cool. It's using a modified design thinking framework in order to address a local challenge. So far, the challenges they've addressed have been a community garden, how to help people from Latin America integrate into Canadian society and find jobs faster, how to help farmers share information about what's going on the ground with their crops. And they need volunteers, they need Agilists like you, they need people with causes who have something that breaks their heart, and that person says, I want to make this thing better, and they need us all to get on board. There is enough capacity to do about 5 of these Sustainability Incubator Program SIPs under the WIA umbrella a year, and right now we're only doing 2. So bring your cause, bring yourself. Use that QR code to go on the website and sign up and get more information, or just book a discovery call. One of the people will get back with you and you can find out more about it. Here's another thing. Do you know we have a magazine? It's called We Hope. And it's about active hope. It's about Agilists using agility to work on our many planetary challenges. So far, there have been 4 editions. There are over 30 stories of Agilists who are on the ground making change, becoming this positive force. They're good examples for you. And guess what? You might already be an example for them. The next edition of We Hope will be coming out soon. They are soliciting submissions for it. Go to this and see if you have something to contribute. The more we share our stories, the more we can act together. The next edition is going to be about the green tech polarity. How tech can be sort of like this helper, this maybe even savior, and at the same time, right now, it's the cause of a tremendous amount of pollution. That's a big polarity for us to live in right now. But even if your story would not be in that umbrella, go look at these submission guidelines and submit your story. No story is too small, because I know, I feel it. You all are sitting there going, yeah, but I just use my little thing for just helping my community, That's a great story. That's a story people need to hear. If we create these repeating patterns and tell people about it, they can do it where they are too. And another thing, if you're not completely conferenced out, tomorrow and the next day is the Agilists for Planet online conference. So I love this conference because it brings in people who are at the intersection of agility and sustainability, or the intersection of agility and regeneration. That tends to be people that are not like coming from the Agile community. Sometimes they are, but sometimes they're people in their own communities, in their own context, who see what we have the same way I do, as like this amazing superpower. It's hilarious and wonderful, actually, to sit in a session where someone is telling you about how great Agile is for what they're doing and how it's helped them actually make progress on these planetary challenges. So that's something you can tap into. And then finally, come talk to me. Let's have a conversation. Let's talk together about what are you seeing in your world? What are you seeing in your local community that actually breaks your heart? And you say to yourself, my God, we've got to do something about this, but I don't know what to do. I'm just so overwhelmed by it. Guess what? Overwhelm happens when you're alone. So come, let's have this conversation. Let's see where it goes. Let's see how we can continue to mobilize this force of Agilists for good. So I believe that if we gave even a small sliver of our attention and our capabilities to these many planetary challenges, we could make a big difference. The future is not for sure. Throughout history, the future of humanity has hinged on these moments that you can't predict. These discontinuous evolutions that have happened in our whole history as human beings. And we are at one of these moments now. So I believe that you are a powerful force for good. And given that, I would ask you to think about your journey in agility so far and what it has meant for you. And I would posit this question to you. What if all your practice so far has been practice? Like, what if you were actually meant for this time, for this moment we're in? I believe you are. And given how precious you are, I will leave you with this one final question. What are you applying agility to that is worthy of you? Here's the great news. You don't have to do any of it alone. You look around this room, there are people who will join you. You look around the Agile community in the whole world, there are people who will join you. The Agile community is already intersecting with these other communities of people who need you. What are you applying agility to that's worthy of you?